The main thing that I'm big on and what is crucial is starting off with a property management software from day one, meaning don't just rely on Airbnb or Vrbo or Booking.com to bring you all of your guests. The property management software I use is Hostfully. A lot of people won't tell you what they want to use, but I'll tell you guys it's Hostfully. And what I love about that is it gives me a unified calendar and it lets us list on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking, but also we have our direct booking website, which is crucial in this space because you want to own your own book of business. So our thing is it's the OTA or online travel agencies like Airbnb's job to bring us a guest for the first time. And then it's my job with marketing to bring them back for the next 10 stays and have them book directly.
All right, we got here Madeline Rayford Holland, founder of MHM Luxury Properties. We were just talking offline how we got connected. It's funny. A mutual contractor of ours introduced us. Thank you so much for taking some time to hop on with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So living in Athens, Georgia right now, really great time to be in Athens, Georgia, massive college town for a great football team. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your story, kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah. So MHM Luxury Properties is our short-term rental portfolio company. And how we came to real estate investing, I feel like a lot of real estate investors, either listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad at some point in time or, have another just Think and Grow Rich, just another real estate story. And I'm very similar to that. I was the COO of a government contracting company for years, and that had me traveling all the time. And when I met my husband, we actually met at an industry conference and we're just traveling all over the place, which is fun when we were young and single, no kids. And we had our first son in this is bad, guys. I need to know my son's birthday, December 31st of 2020. But we opened our first short-term rental property in October of 2021 because we were both just absolutely at a breaking point of saying we're traveling in opposite directions and something has absolutely got to give. So entrepreneurship has always kind of been in my blood, but the starting of this business came at a really difficult time in our life. And we were just saying, you know what, we gotta make a shift. And we started the first property and we focused heavily on an elevated guest experience. Like I knew branding, marketing was my jam. I'm like, we're going to have to do something to set ourselves apart. And we launched in the middle of UGA football season. And it was so wildly successful that we opened 5 more properties in 6 months. And with my background as a COO, I knew systems, processes, people, and I said, we just scaled really freaking fast. And so we need to make sure that we have all of the technology and the systems and processes in place to where we're not creating another job for ourselves. If we're going to get to a place of removing ourselves from our 9-to-5s, then we don't want to be glued to our phone. We don't want to just jump from one to another. And that's what I did. So we now have 16 properties. We've both left our 9-to-5s, replaced healthy, W-2 incomes. And my husband golfs a good chunk of the time and manages stuff at the house. But my passion was helping other people and families create that time and financial freedom as well. So I take all of the systems, processes, automations, and I teach other families how to do that in our coaching and mentorship program.
Without giving away the secret sauce, right? What were some of the big takeaways, like the big macro takeaways that you had? Like, what are the short-term rental investors missing? Like, what are some key things that separate the true value you're bringing that's allowed you to scale? And also, I imagine there's a lot of automation in place that doesn't require you to be fully in the weeds inside of all these properties all the time, right? So, like, could you just riff on how that
Yeah,
how that
I'm
transition.
happy to give you some secret sauce too.
Yeah.
I mean, no gatekeeping here. So the main thing that I'm big on and what is crucial is starting off with a property management software from day one, meaning don't just rely on Airbnb or Vrbo or Booking.com to bring you all of your guests. The property management software I use is Hostfully. A lot of people won't tell you what they want to use, but I'll tell you guys it's Hostfully. And what I love about that is it gives me a unified calendar and it lets us list on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking, but also we have our direct booking website, which is crucial in this space because you want to own your own book of business. So our thing is it's the OTA or online travel agencies like Airbnb's job to bring us a guest for the first time. And then it's my job with marketing to bring them back for the next 10 stays and have them book directly because we can on our platform because we can email market to them. We make 10 to 12% more per booking because we're still giving a guest a discount because they're not paying the middleman and all of those Airbnb fees. But I have a way to have a rate multiplier that says, all right, if they're booking on my website, my nightly rate is 10% more, but they're saving 5% because they're not paying Airbnb.
Sure.
So that's one thing. And then turning your property into multiple streams of revenue. So whether that's upselling, early check-in or late checkout, or my favorite, making your property shoppable. We have curated the designs and all of theirs, and guests absolutely love to buy my sheets, my towels, my mattresses, and I make tens of thousands of dollars a month from people buying the stuff in my properties on top of the nightly revenue, which nobody's doing that. They just leave it at Airbnb and stop.
Is that through like affiliate revenue, or are they taking the physical things that they're
affiliate?
Okay, so like they'll come in, they'll see the bed, and be like, all right, I really like this. What, and then you have a code there where they can purchase them.
So we have it in multiple places. So when they book, if you said, did you fall in love with something during your stay? Here's a link. On my website, I have it broken down by each property with the affiliate link for all of the furniture, all of the items in there, and people just go and buy it. But that's the powerful thing about cookies these days, especially with affiliate links, is they might click the link for one thing, but then end up buying 10 things, and you get the affiliate revenue for all 10 things that they buy. It's absolutely insane. But you think about it with the current stage of things with drop shipping and all that, people aren't going to the malls. They're not able to touch and feel products anymore. So if they're coming to my property and saying, I absolutely love how these sheets feel, where can I get them? Like, they're not able to go touch and feel sheets anymore. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond's gone, malls are gone. Like, where else are they getting to experience these products without ordering it for themselves? And so it's the ultimate experiential, like, shopping experience. And then just showing them, hey, if you love it, here's where you can find it. And then it just snowballs from there.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've had no one ever talk about the short-term rental game like that, like at all. I didn't even know that. I mean, I know that exists. I just didn't know that that's even a game that some people play in the space. And one of the major takeaways that I got from what you were talking about is like truly running your short-term rental like a business.
Totally.
Not just, hey, I'm going to go buy an Airbnb. And like everyone just says it's Airbnb, but this is a short-term rental. It's not Airbnb. Airbnb is just a method, and that's your top of funnel to get people in. I've never even personally had an Airbnb host or a VRB host hit me up after to try and continue to have a recurring book of business there. So that's just incredible. I love what you're up to. How did you learn some of this stuff? I know you came in really wanting to wow the experience, but what were some of the major takeaways up front that were the catalyst to get to your business model now?
Yeah. So I mentioned that I was the COO of that company and I traveled a ton. I started a lifestyle website when I was COO and I was sharing travel experiences, recipes, design. It was just kind of a lifestyle influencer space. And I mean, I grew that to a fairly successful business, had partnerships with brands like Target, Delta Airlines, Wayfair, Walmart, like you name it. I've worked with a lot of those brands as an influencer. So I understand that side of the space. And when I curated my first property, a lot of it was with the brands that I had had partnerships with in the past. So I was familiar from the influencer space with affiliate marketing, and I created that first property with that in mind and created a brand standard that people knew that they could find at all of my properties. So just like Westin Hotels has the heavenly bed, if you stay at one of my properties, you know you're getting the same organic cotton linens, you're getting a purple mattress, you're getting a Smeg toaster, you're getting a Fellow kettle with all the pour over stuff. I created that from my brand from property number one. And that's what people need to think about when they're getting into the short-term rental space. A lot of people have, talked about Airbnb and bust and short-term rental industry kind of declining. What's happening is that the industry is professionalizing, and the people who are treating it like hobby hosts, not as professionals, are the ones who are, really declining. People like us who are treating it like a business, having advanced marketing strategies, are crushing it year over year. And we're just leaving the other people in the background. But my background with influencer marketing and just marketing as a whole is what brought my different approach to this business.
Are most of your properties in Athens, Georgia?
Got 9 in Athens, but I have properties in Tennessee and Florida as well.
So from an economic standpoint, from like an economic standpoint, my first reaction, which I'm assuming is wrong, is like seasonal, given the the UGA football season. How do you weather the downturn in foot traffic coming into Athens at that time, given that I'm pretty sure it's a college style area? So let's say we're out of season. How do you go about marketing your property and making sure that it's getting rented out?
Well, at the end of the day, with any real estate investing, you have to buy the property right. So don't overpay for the property, and make sure that you know how to underwrite a deal and analyze it. All of my properties pay for all of the mortgage and expenses in 6 home football game weekends for the entire year. We cover all of our costs in 6 home football game weekends. And then we can charge the same football rates for graduation. And then the things you don't think about are like parent orientations, like people coming to visit the school. Then in the summertime, the university does a ton of construction projects because all the students are gone. So they're bringing in all of these contractors. And then we like to focus on a midterm stay model as well. So different insurance companies have to place people in furnished housings. Let's say they have a house fire. Their pipes burst, any number of reasons they need furnished midterm housing, which is any days, 30 days or 6 months, and having our properties listed on all of those different platforms so that when somebody is in need, our properties show up at the forefront of that. And then knowing how to quote it for profitability it's kind of a midterm, short-term hybrid model, but I'm not really concerned about covering expenses because we do it in 6 home football game weekends. And then my occupancy for the rest of the year is between 75 and 80% across my portfolio.
That's great. So that kind of goes into what I was going to ask, which was like, what's a good deal versus a bad deal when you're looking at properties, and what's your vision as far as expansion goes?
Yeah. So good deal versus bad deal. It really depends on the situation. Right now, we're very focused on tax optimization and cost segregation studies. And you got to look at the bigger overall picture. And that's what we do with our mentorship clients is we say, all right, what are your financial goals? Are we trying to help you protect yourself from a very high income earning W-2 position where we need to cover some tax liability? Or have you been vacationing in this place for 30 years? You want your own slice of it and you just want to make sure that you're covering your cost. Everybody's financial situation is different. And knowing what somebody's goals are is very important when you're analyzing a deal because everybody's financial picture is different. As far as we're concerned, we thankfully are not in a place where we're having to acquire all the time. We're letting the deals come to us at this point. And it's just depending on what our goals are for that specific time of what we're looking for in a deal. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can arbitrage, which is long-term leasing, which allows you to short-term lease it out, or co-host. So there are 2 ways to get into the short-term rental space without actually owning the property. And I do all 3 in my portfolio just because they all have their own unique benefits as well.
For our listeners that are just starting to learn about this side of things, could you expand a little bit on those different ways of getting involved in that?
Sure. So the best example of arbitrage is probably here in Athens, because there are certain areas of town that you can still purchase a property and the numbers work. It's very profitable, but the closer you get to the football stadium and to UGA campus, commercial investors are buying up those smaller tracts of land or those lands, and it makes it absolutely impossible for an individual investor to be able to buy a deal and make it pencil in the short-term space. But because they're appealing to college students, the rents are typically low. So I have a unit across the street from me that is in an apartment complex, and I have an agreement with them. My all-in expenses are about $1,900 a month. That's utilities, that's rent. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. That one across the street on a football weekend rents for $2,200 a night with a 2-night minimum. There's absolutely no way that I could have afforded to buy a piece of property and put a single-family home on it and have the numbers pencil because the commercial investor was there. However, I was able to have a long-term lease, so rent it like a student would annually. I have a commercial lease there. They know that I have short-term rentals there, but I'm able to sublease that out in order to put it on Airbnb, Vrbo, any other place. And so that's one reason I like to arbitrage some places where the numbers don't work to purchase, but the cash flow there is amazing. And for somebody first starting out who doesn't necessarily have the money for a down payment, getting into an arbitrage unit where all you're paying to do is furnish it and then first month's last month, it can be a great way to build capital in order to eventually purchase. At the end of the day, purchasing is where you want to be. But if you've bought 5 in 6 months like we did first starting out, we're like, how do we scale this business when we're a little cash light? Because we just bought 5 in 6 months.
And how do you navigate the scenarios where like maybe they're like, because not everybody lets you do that, correct? There's like times they don't let you do that. What's that like? I'm sure that's why people need to speak with you one-on-one probably too, to some extent, right? But like, what's that initial friction? Do you run into that a lot, or what's that?
Yeah, I mean, honesty is the best policy, but it's also educating landlords on that. The thing is, anybody hears Airbnb, they think party. And that's frankly not the case. As a short-term rental host, we have so much more leverage and power in a situation if somebody were to throw a party than a long-term person, especially in college towns when their alternative is a bunch of college dudes, like 4 guys posted up in a place, and I'm showing them, no offense guys, but
No.
I'm like professionally designing it. I have a cleaner in there once or twice a week.
Yeah.
I've got a great relationship with most of the places that I have apartments in here in Athens. They're like, hey, can we show your place? We don't want to show the neighbors. They're actually going to be renting the other unit, but yours is just so beautiful. If you don't have a guest, we'd love to show yours.
That makes a ton of sense because you're actively keeping that property up to date and that location up to date and furnished and cleaned up and dialed in because it has to look good for the next person that's coming in the next week.
Totally. I mean, even if it's a single family residence and not an apartment complex, we're maintaining the yards. We have to keep it in showroom standard. And like, I'm a business, you never have to worry about my rent being late. Like, we are the best tenant you will ever have, especially because if there is a party, which I can count on one hand how many times we've had that happen, I have it written in there that they can be immediately kicked out. Can you do that with a long-term rental? Absolutely not. They have renter rights. But if they throw a party or have more than the number of guests that they have on their rental agreement, I have it in there, the lease is terminated and they have to get out immediately. So educating the landlords on that typically helps, mitigate any of that. But I have a full arbitrage script that we give our clients that help them navigate that piece of it because it is a bit of an uphill battle. But as long as you know how to explain it well, people are generally pretty amenable to it.
Sure. So you had alluded to earlier around how some of the times when you're looking at deals is for the tax side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about short-term rentals, and we'll talk this out for a second for people listening to this. We talk about tax a lot.
Love it.
And we own a cost segregation company as well. So we talk about this a lot.
I
So
didn't realize that, guys.
what I love about short-term rentals is that it pretty much universally applies for everyone, that you can leverage cost segregation and depreciate it against your income, even if you're a W-2 earner, which you can't do the same if you're just buying buy and hold properties. That's nothing against a buy and hold strategy. But with a really solid plus in the short-term rental market is the fact that it's a job, it's a business. You're running a business, and Madeline's obviously made it a lot more passive than most. But in the beginning, this is a job, actively trying to rent these things out, which allows us to classify it as active income, which ultimately allows us to take the losses against our other active income. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you unlock that as a superpower for your business?
Absolutely. Especially once you start in with this or have healthy W-2 income, the cost segregation study is really how you improve that cash on cash return immediately off the bat. We leverage cost segregation studies quite a bit in this. As far as bonus depreciation, I'm really hoping that it will come back to 100%.
We're going back. We're going back.
We're going back. Victory.
Let's go.
We're all manifesting that.
As soon as you mentioned cost segregation, I was like, that's why Tag connected us for sure. Because there's something for us to jam out on there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you guys had a cost segregation business. We need to connect offline about that one, because I'm sending a bunch of people to get cost segs right now. So, but yeah, the tax benefit for it is what brings most people to short-term rentals. It's particularly my clients. You have folks who don't have the money for arbitrage or for owning, and they typically go the arbitrage route. The majority of my clients are high-income earning W-2 employees who really want to max out the tax benefit of it and have a small but mighty portfolio that's just massively profitable. And that's why, doing things like the marketing, maximizing the multiple streams of income and the affiliate revenue is just so appealing, because they have a very small but mighty portfolio and then leverage the tax benefits and just knock it out of the park with it.
Sure. So with that being said, what do your clients get from you? Let's say, who is an ideal client for you? You mentioned like a high income W-2 earner or so.
Mm-hmm.
And what can they expect? Are you not only, giving intellectual property in terms of like how to negotiate, how to find the deals, how to underwrite? Are you also finding deals for people and placing them in? Like, help us understand your business model on that side.
Yeah. So our primary product is a 1-year mentorship program, and we walk people through wherever they are. So it starts off with a roadmap call. And some people come to us, they already have 1 or 2 short-term rental properties, but they have no idea how to optimize their business. Other people come to us completely green with no real estate experience. And we walk them through, okay, this is how much cash you have on hand. This is what your goals are for this business. All right, based on that, this is how we choose a market. We narrow it down. We walk through different short-term rental regulations, how to choose a buy box within that market that's going to fit their goals and their budget. And then from there, we walk them through how to actually underwrite a deal. And so we show them how to use the tools and empower them to start running some numbers. But then once they find something that's interesting to them, we are underwriting and analyzing every deal with them with Loom videos. So we're saying, hey, this is what your market comps are doing. This is what we can expect if we come in with better design. This is what you can expect. This is what your cash on cash return would be. This is what we're thinking it will do tax benefit wise. We are helping them underwrite every deal and giving them the confidence to make a decision. We are not finding the deal. Our goal is for them to be fully empowered to do this in the future for themselves. Like, we want to teach them how to fish. We don't want to fish for them. So our ideal client is somebody who actually wants to learn this business, not somebody who just wants to turn it over to somebody and then get a property at the end. Because after that, once we go under contract on a property and they close, we're helping them figure out the physical setup. So they get my furniture buying guide, which I earn affiliate revenue off of, guys. And we teach them how to do that as well. But they get, our team telling them how to physically set it up, things like the door locks, the automations. And then we help them handhold them through the entire process of the digital setup with all the systems, processes, automations to where they can run it in just an hour or so a week. And then help them through the digital side of the marketing process as well, so they can add multiple streams of revenue to every single process.
That's incredible. I mean, our clients that are listening to this are definitely going to be reaching out to you. Speaking of which, how can our listeners connect with you as we near the wrap up point here? How can people connect with you, learn about your services, et cetera?
Absolutely. The best way to reach me is on Instagram at Madeline Rayford Holland, or you can find me on LinkedIn under my name as well. But Instagram is where I share a ton of free content. I'm huge on leading with value. I want people to really understand, they can interact with me. My goal is for them to have a personal experience wherever they reach out. And so reach out to me on Instagram if you want to hop on a call with our team to see if it's a good fit to work together. We'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Madeline. This is like value packed, 25 minutes, boom, right to the point. I think it's going to be super valuable for a lot of people, and we're ready to start sending people your way. And I think we'll have to do a part 2 next year, just based off all the case studies that you've been able to provide for our clients. So
wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me. And can't wait to continue the conversation in the future.
Absolutely.